Today, we're going to take a look at the legendary tier Italian battleship Lauria, which is sort of like the ultimate reward for this ongoing Christmas 2024 update. I say that, but in order to actually obtain this ship, you will have to expend both a lot of effort and a lot of money. Let's get that out of the way before we talk about whether the ship is good or not. But spoiler alert, I think this ship is good, potentially even great. I've seen people that aren't too hot on it. They seem to think it's somehow mediocre. I don't get that at all. And the battle that you'll see going on in the background here should demonstrate to you that this ship has some scary firepower and potential for damage output. Anyway, how do you get it? Well, if you go to the Christmas section of the store, you'll see this thing costs 17,500 cyber coins. You can get a number of them for quote unquote free, although you would have to buy the Admiralty backing for the campaign, which costs 2,500 doubloons. Assuming you do that, and you play the game on a daily basis for the duration of the update, then you can get the cyber coins in the following ways. Number one, there's a free bundle, if you haven't already yet gotten it, in the store, called the New Year's Present. That thing gives you 500 cyber coins. Then, if you buy the Admiralty backing and complete the campaign, you'll get 7,500 cyber coins. There's 1,000 more of them in the calendar event. And then there's weekly assignments for the duration of the update. Each assignment, after you complete it, gives you 250 cyber coins, and the update is 6 weeks. Therefore, you'd get 1,500 if you completed all the weekly assignments. At the end of the update, that is a total of 10,500, leaving you short 7,000 for the Lauria. In order to get the additional 7,000, you would have to buy Spectral Vault 3.0 crates. You'd have to buy 28 of them. The crates are 1,250 doubloons each, so that would be 35,000 doubloons to buy all of them. The best way to do that would probably be to buy the $99 doubloon pack for 30,000 doubloons, then the $20 pack for 5,000 doubloons, so that'd be about $119 in total if you're paying with American currency. And then you'd have to add on the other 2,500 doubloons that you spent to do the Admiralty backing. So it's more like $140 and a lot of grinding in the game in order to actually obtain this vessel. That is going to be prohibitive for most players, no doubt. That's a lot of money. I mean, just for one ship, and then that assumes that you grind out all of the cyber coins and spend them on literally nothing else. And in order to do that, you'd essentially have to wait till the end of the update so you can get them from every single source. So it wouldn't even be now. There's plenty of things working against you. If you just wanted to straight up buy the crates to get the cyber coins, then you'd probably be spending well over $200. I don't think I can recommend the ship for all of these reasons. The cost is just far too prohibitive. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if they were going to put a legendary tier ship in the game for straight up doubloon sale, it might end up costing about 35,000 doubloons. The tier 7s cost what, 17,500? We could assume that the tier 8s would cost quite a bit more, and then the legendary tiers, obviously they're going to be the most expensive in the game. And maybe it would be one thing if there was just a flat price to buy this ship for that amount, but you have to do a lot of grinding in addition to that to even get it to that price. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot more. Now, is the ship worth it? Well, as you can see, we've done 71,583 damage so far, and we're about 4 minutes into this game. I've taken the ship out a number of times, and a handful of times I've done about 100k damage in less than 5 minutes. That's because I think the damage output on this vessel is tremendous. I'll show you my commander build at the end. It's Xarkun. I have this thing built for main guns and accuracy, so keep that in mind while we run down the stats. I'll give you the rundown pretty quickly here. To begin with, we don't have a lot of HP. Only 79,200. So you would think the ship is not super survivable. And if you take a look at the armor scheme, you'll find the bow and the stern are 32 millimeters. So is a good portion of the upper deck armor in the front of the ship. The midsection is 150 millimeters, and the citadel is massively exposed. So this is sort of like a heavier battle cruiser armor scheme, and it can feel a little not tanky at times. But then again, at other times, when you have it properly angled, it is able to mitigate most battleship firepower. To me, I think it feels fairly tanky, but it involves you having to position it correctly, and it involves proper armor angling, so I suspect people out there may actually struggle with it. If you do and you lose HP, you get an improved repair party, which restores 887 HP per second. That's not quite rising to the level of super heal, but it's an improved heal. It's better than the typical battleship one. So the survivability, it looks bad at first glance, but with the heal and with the efficacy, the somewhat maybe questionable efficacy of the armor with all the 32 millimeter plating everywhere, I think it's a fairly tanky ship. It's also got 39% torpedo damage reduction, which is a fairly high number, I suppose. Then the guns, which we see here against Colombo. Take a look at how much damage that they do when we hit them with the sap in the right place. We've got 8 457 millimeter guns on this thing. Those are the biggest sap slinging guns in the game. They've got a range of 19.4 kilometers, a reload time of 25.2 seconds with the reload mod in the fourth slot, and an excellent 180-degree turn time of 28.6 seconds. They shoot armor piercing and semi-armor piercing. The AP does a maximum damage of 14,900. The SAP does a maximum damage of 16,600. If you hit a citadel with that SAP, that would make it the second highest citadel damage in the game behind Georgia and Ohio. And this SAP penetrates 114 millimeters of armor, which means it can citadel Minotaur and Brisbane, at least. And, of course, it can penetrate the armor schemes, at least the upper belt armor, on practically every single battleship you'll encounter, not to mention cruisers. Except for things like the GK, which does have 150 millimeters of side plating. You won't be penning the GK's upper belt armor, but you will be penning its huge superstructure and even its deck armor. When this sap hits an armor surface, it can penetrate. It does, as you saw against the Colombo a little bit earlier, and I think as you'll see throughout the duration of this game, it does a tremendous amount of damage. And because it's sap, you can't really effectively angle against it. Now that being said, the guns are not very reliable. I've found that they're not super consistent. We got a good salvo there against the Louisiana. We hit 5 shells out of 8. But don't expect that all the time. And that may be a deal breaker for some people. It may be part of the reason why certain people are not too hot on this ship. Personally, the inaccuracy of the guns does not bother me, as long as the guns do a lot of damage when they do hit and when they are accurate. And that is the case here. These guns do tremendous damage with the sap. You just have to have a working understanding of armor schemes and the ability to aim them properly. So maybe not the easiest thing to use. I don't know. I've had a good time with it. The AA defenses, I don't think they're good, but I haven't really run into too many CVs being at legendary tier. Seen a couple midways and Hakuryus. They are a bit of a menace, and I don't think the ship can really defend itself all that well against them. The maneuverability is, if anything's bad about this ship, it would be this stat. The turning circle is 1,000 meters, and the rudder shift is 17 seconds base. It takes a long time for this thing to turn. The speed, however, at base is 35 knots. Now, I've put on the rudder shift mod, actually, because I think being able to open and close the angle a little bit quicker is probably pretty valuable for this thing. The firing angles going forward are not the best, and with that large turning circle, you'll probably want to be opening and closing the angle a lot. You certainly want to stay angled, because if you don't, this thing is easy to citadel. The citadel is very exposed. But yeah, 14.5 seconds with the rudder shift mod. I think that makes it a little better. Takes a longer time to get going to full speed, but if you pop the speed flag on there, you've got 36 knots. So this is a pretty fast battleship. And, well, there's some torpedoes coming courtesy of the Z-44. Luckily, it's Z-44, so the torpedoes don't hit all that hard in the first place, and 39% torpedo damage reduction is helpful. Unfortunately, it doesn't really allow us to see the true potential of the heal. It can definitely heal more than the 2 green bars you currently see on the screen right now. As for the concealment, I don't really know what the base value is. I've got Iachino on here, and we've got Kondo and Azurlane Sovetski Rossiya as the 2 inspirations. So my detect is 12.1 kilometers by sea, which you might have noticed has helped me tremendously in pushing straight up into this cap and pretty much playing here the entirety of this game. Concealment helps you push in as well as get away. That's something I've been saying for years, and something I would recommend building on the battleships. You might be tempted, because these guns are not super accurate, to build for accuracy, but I don't know. We've done 200,000 damage in this game, 209,000, and we're on the verge of having a Kraken. The bad thing is there's just not enough time left for us to actually sink this Alaska. I was holding on to this salvo, should have released it, maybe we would have hit and sunk the guy. But no, I waited too long. We're at 1,000 points. We win the game. No Kraken. But 209,000 damage done and 4 kills. I think this thing has immense firepower, and I think it's potentially not even just a good ship, but a great ship. However, the cost is prohibitive. If you look at the ship separated from the cost, I think you can conclude that it's a very good vessel indeed. But when you take into the context the cost as well, I don't know how I can recommend it. If you're going to get any of the reward ships with these cyber coins, you probably want the Duplay at tier 5. The Pozarski, I'll do a video on that at some point in the future. I think that one's mid. The Duplay, pretty good. This one, also very good, but just far too expensive. So I cannot recommend it. Hopefully it'll come back someday, because it'd be nice if everybody could get a chance to play this thing. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.